Georgeazoid over here. Welcome to another episode in my unboxing series, and boy, do I have something special right over here. Now, we need to say thank you. My very good friend actually somehow managed not to go and immediately open this the way that I would the moment he received it. This particular thing, he was kind enough to reach out to me and say, "Hey, George, do you think you want to do an unboxing for this?" I'm like, "Yes, please, thank you." Now, this episode is going to be about the Steam Deck. And I cannot express to you how excited I am about this. I'm a genuine believer in the product. I don't really need to know that I want it other than knowing that it exists, to be fair with you. I just looking at the specs alone, just thinking about the prospects and the possibilities of this particular product, I know it's something I would recommend right out of the gates. It's something I know I would want. I'm sure there are caveats that I can get into towards the end of the video on like who I may or may not recommend this to you. But I can tell you, I know I want it, and I don't even have to go and open this box and take a look at it and even do some hands-on with it. I know that I'm going to buy this at some point. And the only reason why I haven't bought this is if you've been watching my unboxing videos this entire series, I've been buying a lot of stuff recently because I've been upgrading my stream setup, my content creation setup. I also have my own home gym and a couple other things, and I have other things that I want to buy. Sometimes you want to go eat and what have you. But we're going to go ahead and get into this. We're going to once again, thank you, George's friend, for letting me open this. I'm going to do my best to keep this particular video short or shorter than usual because I love to talk, and I am sorry for that. But here we go. We're going to go ahead and use my trusty old knife. You can see it's never been opened. I cannot express to you, I do not understand the patience this man has because I would not have been able to contain myself. In fact, real talk, it's been so hard not to open some of the stuff that I've received lately because now that I do these unboxings for you guys for my series, I've had to learn to be extremely patient to not open stuff. Like I have a laundry list of things that I need to go and open, and I just can't because I know this is stuff you guys probably want to see too. And all right, well, anyway, here we are. We're going to go ahead and open up the Steam Deck. Now, if you don't know, the Steam Deck is essentially kind of like a portable PC, but with a screen. So think, I hate to make this comparison, but like a Nintendo Switch, except it plays PC games. And with that alone, it comes with a lot of options. It is more powerful than the Switch. Keep that in mind. And yeah, it doesn't have the Nintendo first party. Okay, very decent so far. But there's stuff that the Nintendo Switch will never get its hands on, and this absolutely does it. One of the main reasons why I want to do this, I want to be able to play Game Pass on it. That's 100% the number one reason why I want to. So it starts off with languages. As you can see, it's sent in a carton like this. So nothing really special about the box. I wouldn't go crazy and be like, "Oh my god, this box is amazing," all that. Maybe there's more inside, and we'll find out as we go through it. But right off the bat, I know some of you will be like, I spent this amount of money and then this box is like, whatever. But there are those of you that probably just don't care. You're just going to toss out the box anyway. I'm not one of those people. I love my boxes. I save them. My friend's looking at all the boxes that I have currently in a corner right now that I got to put away. So he knows what's up. So we're going to remove this, and I'm going to I hit it. Yeah, you didn't get to see it too much. All right, so it just has attention and a bunch of stuff. And we have kind of like I don't even know what to call this. We're just going to call it a flyer. And it shows you what looks like how the screen's going to look like when you're handling your settings, your options. That seems to be what it is. And then it just says to plug in and power on. We'll probably do that either in another video, or I might just looks nice, might just leave it to just an unboxing. We'll figure it out. If I am going to do a hands-on, I'm going to do it in a separate video. So here we have the Steam Deck right now as we speak. I'm going to see if I can finagle my fingers into this. There we go. Okay, so you can see the valve corp thingamabobber right over here. I assume this is going to be the power adapter. Again, more cardboard. I wouldn't say that this is, again, the most beautiful unpackaging, but sometimes it's what is inside that counts. And I'm telling you now, what's inside this box in particular definitely counts in my book. And let's go ahead and open this without destroying the box, because I don't know if my friend's going to keep it or not, but we're going to treat it as if it's something I own and I'm going to keep. So, yep, I was correct. We have the power adapter right over here. It's very nice looking, actually, which is very neat considering, like, if you were to just judge based on the box alone, This is a really nice looking power adapter. I don't feel like they went cheap on this in particular. In case you're not aware, it is USB Type-C. So that's kind of nice, of course, because that's kind of where things are going. Like most cables, it's tied up with a little bit of plastic. I wonder, because when I see these lines over here, I immediately think that this is interchangeable in some form. I'm not going to explore that route because that's just not for this video right now. But I almost wonder if in some way it's just interchangeable, or if during production they slide in the one depending on where or what country it's going to, because it's probably all made in the same place. I'm not sure, but I can tell you that it looks like there was some thought put into that somewhere. We got more documentation here. I'm going to try to reach it, and if not, we'll just leave it alone. All right, here we go. So this looks like the user manual. Let's pop that over here. We'll probably start moving stuff soon out of the way. We'll cycle through it. Languages, lots of different languages, so wherever you're from, you probably could read this, for the most part. At least I'm assuming the places that the Steam Deck can be sent to, if you're purchasing. That's my guess. Anywho, so we're going to go ahead and put this away because I don't want to lose it. It does look nice. It's a very nice power adapter. We're going to pop this over here. Cool. Okay, I'm going to actually start moving things away. That way we have space and we can actually show off everything accordingly. Hopefully you guys can hear me with this mic. This is actually, you know what? This is like the first time I've done an unboxing with this new mic, and I realize I probably should keep it closer. So I apologize in advance if the initial volume of my voice was not sufficient. It was not my intention. I changed mics literally like within a week, and yeah, I'm not used to the details required to remember that I have a new mic. All right, cool. So we have pretty typical like plastic packaging around. It is wrapped up, and honestly, this is kind of neat in a weird way because for me, this reminds me a lot of like when you go to, let's say, a game store or like I don't know, insert electronics store over here, and usually accessories are actually packaged this way. So it's almost as if when they packaged it as if they were selling this case separately. That's my initial impression. I would never know that there's an actual console in here or a computer, essentially. But it's kind of interesting that this is the route that they chose. So we're going to go ahead and take that out. We'll move this over here. We're like partly an ASMR stream now. I'm going to move my trusty knife. Designed by Valve Corporation. Contents video game machine. So we're going to be calling it a video game machine going forward. And case. Now, it doesn't look like I have to do anything special. I think just sliding it out is sufficient. That's kind of pretty. It's a very, very pretty looking case right there. I'm sure many of you who've had something portable, let's say, again, a Switch, a DS, PSP, or even like none of those things, you've probably have had at one point in your life this kind of a case. So, you know, nothing here that is new to say. It does look pretty. It does feel nice. It does feel nicer than some of the ones I've had before. I can say that. I love the logo right up front and center. I think that's a neat touch. They didn't have to do it, but they did. It could have just been all black and everything would have been fine. But they were like, no, we're going to go an extra step. And I'm actually very thankful that they did. Sure, it might be considered the bare minimum in some cases. But again, some companies just don't even go this far. Immediately when I was holding it, I felt like a little give here. And I got a little concerned. But we have this little section over here, which I'm not entirely sure how it works. But we're going to go ahead and yank out stuff. I assume this is for the power adapter. So this was hidden in this little like trap door over here. I guess you can hang this in some places. I'm sure I'm not being bright enough. This is actually a really neat way to hold it then when you think about it. You can just hold it like that. I don't know, I'm sure there's a smarter reason as to why that is there, but apparently I'm not smart enough to understand. But I assume this is for the power adapter, and then theoretically the power adapter goes in that little hole. That's my best guess, and then they did that, and they put this little Velcro strap here that has multiple uses, like holding it, hanging it somewhere, etc. We're going to go ahead and move it over. I actually find this part really neat right over here, but we are going to have to break it. But they found, like, they made this cool little valve tag, man. I don't know. This is actually really neat. And they tied up the zippers together. So that is, once again, a detail that normally is missed by most companies. And again, like I like it. It feels sturdy. That's a huge thing to call out. It does feel nice. I felt worse ones for sure, and I love the logo touch. But this is such a neat little touch for something that we're basically going to discard, right? Let me see. Does it open? Yeah, no. You have to break this out. So it's like some kind of security measure, but they decided to personalize it with the Valve like price tag. I don't know. I think that's neat, but we are gonna have to open it to get into the actual stuff. Thankfully, I think the perfect knife for this. Yeah, we're gonna save this because this is actually really neat. We're gonna pop it right over here. We're gonna close this. We're gonna leave what I assume is the AC adapter pouch or storage. And we're gonna start to open it. It goes that far, and then it goes this far. Okay. Bro, look at that. Holy crap. This looks very nice, and you... So, again, details, right? I'm all about really nice unboxings. I'm all about details. I'm all about things that were clearly thought through. And when you're looking at a device that's this pricey, right? Dare I say expensive, but this pricey in particular, you know, nothing feels worse than spending a lot of money and then just... You know, just, again, doing the bare minimum or even worse. And right here, you could tell that they actually went out of their way. You literally can see that they went out of their way to create a case that is specifically designed for the Steam Deck, where it fits everything and everything fits nicely. And somehow, because of that decision, they're able to condense the case and its size. Because otherwise, they would have to go with some kind of like universal setting of some sort, or universal size. Like normally this wouldn't even be here. So this actually adds to the protection. It's very clear that this is both here for the protection, and also there's a little niceness behind it. Normally these are to pull out. Yeah, okay, so that's good. Again, a detail sometimes that's missed by some companies. A little tab, it's again sounds like bare minimum, but again it's missed, and it's very nice in a machine this pricey that they're not missing these very crucial details that would actually affect your experience. So we're going to go ahead and pull open over here. And this is the first time I will be holding a Steam Deck in my hands. Now, right off the bat, the weight's actually kind of nice. Admittedly, I work out a lot, so maybe I'm not the best person to judge by, but the weight feels nice to me. I can tell you that right off the bat. And actually, if there's anything that I can say that's more important than the weight itself, is how it feels to hold. Now, I can't tell you what the longevity of this particular like casing, this plastic is going to be. I don't know if it's going to eventually mark. I'm sure you've seen in some devices, there's that possibility that you'll start to get like, you know, sweaty hands and then it discolors and stuff like that. I could see that happening with this particular case. I think only time will tell. Valve knows better, of course, by their choices. But man, when it comes to like just holding it, this is way more comfortable to hold than the Switch. And I think the Switch is a very comfortable device to hold. I love the Joy-Cons. I'm that freak who plays Smash Brothers with the Joy-Cons and like no one can change my mind. And I play pretty well. I'm actually not bad at the game, okay? So I don't know what to tell you. I beat people with Pro Controllers all the time. So I'm a massive fan of the Joy-Cons, but this feels so... It just feels so good in my hands. I know I'm supposed to be doing other things right now, like showing you the rest of the buttons and all that, but I cannot express to you. It feels like my hands are at home. Now, it's possible that if you have larger hands, it might not feel as comfortable. That's a possibility. Or if you have smaller hands, again, but it almost feels like it was made for my hands or something. Oh, thank you, display. But it seems like it was made for my hands. Now, let's go ahead and start with the top side. You can kind of see here, very similarly to the Nintendo Switch, you'll have the vents, you'll have some of the ports, so you have your volume up and volume down. You have your 3.5 millimeter jack. You have what I assume is the charging port. That is a yes, confirmation. Your charging port, very similar to the Switch. It seems like they took a lot of inspiration from it, to be fair. And, you know, obviously you don't want to do that, but A lot of people are going to, and most of you that are watching this are probably thinking the same thing. So I might as well say the quiet part out loud, or the loud part even louder. They obviously took a page from the Switch. Maybe that was just the best way to design it. I think the Switch design is really good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't blame them. I'm actually kind of happy that they did this. Anyway, you have your power button over here, and then they went with R1 and R2, L1 and L2, so very similar to like the PlayStation. So if you are a PlayStation gamer, you're probably going to feel at home with at least the naming convention of these shoulder buttons in particular. And actually, they feel kind of like the PlayStation L2 and R2. They feel a lot like it, at least in shape and in travel, like in movement. When I console, I primarily game on my Xbox, so I'm used to the triggers and the bumpers from the Xbox controller. I have clearly a PlayStation right over here. I've owned every PlayStation ever. In fact, I have like 5 PlayStation 3s. I'll make a conversation about that or a video about that later if you guys want, and I'll show you every single PS3 I have. Yeah, if you are a DualShock user, you're probably going to feel at home. If you are a PlayStation 5 gamer, it might feel a little different because the travel is way less and it feels different versus the newer controller. So the DualSense controller, I think is what it's called. But this feels a lot like some kind of like marriage between the PlayStation 4 version of the controller and the PlayStation 3. It feels like the travel of the PlayStation 3 controller, but the shape of the 4 controller, if that makes sense. And then you have your bumpers, and they feel nice. They're clicky. I get like a good sense of confirmation that I'm actually pressing the button. Of these buttons, I like the bumpers better personally. I'm going to say bumpers, I'm sorry, but we can say R1 and L1 and R1, but bumpers, I'm going to say bumpers. They feel good. Bumpers feel good. I wonder about longevity, right? As always, I'm always fearful when it comes to controllers and systems. And, Xbox, everybody knows about the drift. It drifts. That's what they do. Joy-Cons apparently also have some either Bluetooth issues or drift as well. So I'm very curious on like what that will look like if you ever get to a point where one or more of these buttons do not function the way that it's supposed to. I mean, obviously there's people that will probably open this, and it seems like it's not the worst thing to open, at least based on this back panel over here. It just seems like very basic screws. Yeah, I don't think they made it very difficult. This doesn't seem like, I don't know, an Apple product or some of the early Xbox stuff. They've changed the way they build some of this stuff, and it's way easier now. But yeah, all right, so let's move on. We're going to go to the backside now because I definitely don't want to spend too much time on one section. This video is going to be long at the rate that we're going. Now, you have more buttons in the back. That's great. I'm a huge fan of the paddles. Everybody might see one of my more popular videos, the Elite controller, and we can actually compare that, so I'm glad I have it here. But you can see the Elite controller paddles. You might have bought the paddles for the PlayStation's controllers. Those are actually really good, by the way. I highly recommend it. But these come with additional, and this is somewhere where I feel the Steam Deck absolutely nails it, and is, besides obviously power-wise and options-wise, it's a huge upgrade in capability over something, again, and I hate to, but we have to, because I know a lot of you are wondering, should I buy a Switch or should I buy a Steam Deck? So I have to compare it. I don't care. I have to do it. It's my job to at this point. The buttons themselves, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not a fan of. I don't like the way they feel. I like the click. I like the confirmation of the click because I don't necessarily... Oh, no, yeah, I do get it. I'm so used to the Elite controller that I don't realize that it clicks when you press the paddles. Maybe over time it'll feel easier, but if I do have a complaint right now is that the buttons don't feel as easy to press, so I can see some people are going to struggle with that. And again, I'm a weightlifter. I've been lifting weights since I can remember, so pushing buttons and pushing on things is not a very difficult thing for me. But when I game, I have a kind of like a light touch to the way that I game. I'm pretty good at preserving my electronics, my keyboards, my controllers, stuff like that. All that stuff lasts a while. The amount of stuff that I've had that lasts like 10, 20, even 30 years, it's impossible to count, honestly. But I will say although I'm glad the option is there because the option is always better than not having it, I will say this is definitely not the best. I think it's I'm gonna go and leave it at it's better than nothing. I would rather have this than not have it, no matter what. But I don't like the feel of the buttons, and I can imagine a lot of people might not actually use these buttons. I can totally see people just literally sticking to the top two buttons, so all these shoulder buttons, the face buttons, and then maybe the buttons on the actual sticks themselves. But the buttons on the back, I'm not a fan, but it is a better than nothing kind of scenario. What I would probably do is I would bind something to this that's kind of like important to look at, but it's not. If I have to react quickly, I wouldn't want something bound to these buttons. Maybe if I want to look at a map or trigger auto run or something like that, I feel like that's where it's gonna like shine. Now bear with me, my voice is already starting to leave me. I've been abusing my voice over the last couple of weeks. All right, so let's move on. I mean, you have the valve right there. It looks beautiful. It was a great job there. And I really like the finish. Time will tell on whether the finish, depending on use, how like long it'll last. But you also have your vents over here, so be aware of that. Try not to cover them. I don't think you're going to. They designed it in a way where you're. I don't think you're going to. But you know, everybody's different. So again, time will tell. The D-pad feels good. I like the D-pad. We have it right here up front. I'll show it to you right now. It feels good. I play fighting games as well. I play everything. You may not know with all the Dead by Daylight that I play on Twitch and stuff like that, but I play a lot of different games. The D-pad feels good. I like the move. I like the movement. I like the shifting of everything. Everything feels fine. I like the confirmations when I hit. I would say in terms of preparing myself for a fighter, it's good. Because most people won't use the actual sticks for fighters, they'll use this. This is the number one reason why you're going to use the D-pad is if you're probably playing a fighting game. I'm sure there are other stuff, maybe classic games. I would say the travel is good, better than most, pretty much like every Xbox controller ever. I think the only complaint I have here, I think I have the same complaint over the PlayStation 5 controller, and is that it feels almost too sticky. So I feel like the skin of my thumb being pulled and pushed and tugged at. And when you're playing something hypersensitive or fast reacting like a fighting game, it's going to bother you after a while. But if you're playing like something like just your basic platformer, or you're hitting these because usually what's bound to directional pad is going to be like the map or your items or your heal or whatever, it's fine. It's actually more than fine. It feels good. It moves extremely well. Again, this moves way better than literally any Xbox controller, literally ever, I think, outside of maybe the Elite controllers. But it's a different feel on the Elite controller altogether. So I feel like it's almost like apples and oranges when comparing that. But if I compare it to, let's say, the PlayStation 5 controller, which I have over here, one of my complaints with the PlayStation 5 controller is it's a little sticky. And when I mean by sticky, I don't mean the movement of the controller is sticky. I mean they're dry. My hands are dry right now, and it still sticks to the D-pad a little bit because of, I guess, the texture that it's made out of. But outside of that, like I'm just doing like the Hadouken over and over again, and the Shoryuken. It still feels good. It still feels like something you can do. I don't think you're gonna struggle too much with it. Better than pretty much any Xbox controller D-pad ever. I would argue that a lot of the PlayStation controllers probably did the D-pad better. Face buttons. So, interestingly, we have the PlayStation setup up top over here with the L1, R1, R2, and L2. But we have the Xbox XAYB setup over here. So I feel like I'm going to get crossed if I ever like get my hands on this and I have to remember stuff. And the reality is that I don't think about things with like some people might think, oh, press the X button, press the A button. I don't think. I just think the button that goes there, the button that goes here, that like I have that kind of memorized and internalized. So I don't struggle switching platforms like a lot of people do. So when I jump from PlayStation to Xbox, like it's an instant translation for me. I already know which button I'm going for. I don't get stuck or anything like that. Maybe sometimes on the Switch, maybe. But not really. But that's me. That's a me thing. I play on everything. I use everything. I want to say I have a lot of experience as well. I find it interesting that they went with the Xbox route. I almost wonder if it has anything to do with a lot of people having like 360 controllers and Xbox One controllers and maybe even now the Series controllers as their main Windows like controller. That's my guess. That's probably, and like you don't really need to think about like left trigger and right bumper and all that. That's kind of, it's out of sight, out of mind. But when you're staring at the face buttons, because they're the face buttons, if you're using those controllers, I could see why they chose, and it probably has to do with all the Game Pass members there are. There's a lot of people on Game Pass, whether you realize it or not. Game Pass is moving, and this is like primary, like prime real estate right here to play Game Pass games on. Obviously, it's made for Steam and all that, and everybody's gonna play. But they left the options open for a reason. They just want people to get their hands on this and enjoy it. That's my sense of when I'm holding this and I'm playing with it and I'm moving around with it. My sense is that they just want you to get your hands on it and see for yourselves. That's what I'm getting. So it feels like a lot of people probably primarily use Xbox controller. I'm sure there's some kind of data on that. Unless you don't have an Xbox controller and then you're using your PlayStation controller on your computer. Something that I've done before as well. I've used my PS4 and my PS3 controllers in the past. But I do find that kind of interesting. And then we have the artist formerly known as the start and select button. I'm old school, so there's probably a lot of you new school gamers that don't know what I mean by that. I don't know what to call this. I'm not going to call it anything right now. I'm going to call it start and select. A lot of you are going to watch this and be like, yeah, start and select, go, start and select. And then some of you are going to be like, wait, what? And truthfully, we've moved into a point of gaming where the names start and select really just don't make sense. They do not apply anymore. We're just holding on to something that isn't relevant to where gaming is right now. And that's the truth about it. But that doesn't change that, like, I've spent so much time with start and select, and it's a very hard process for me to be able to recognize the name of this. So like the Xbox, I'm going to call this the hamburger button. This is the hamburger button, and the double window button, because it's two freaking windows and a hamburger. And you're going to see when I pull it out over here, it's literally the same buttons. So the entire face of this controller is basically an Xbox controller mixed with like a PlayStation controller. That's where I'm landing on with the Steam Deck. It's an Xbox controller got married to a PlayStation controller, and they had a kid, and then that kid evolved, and it's a shiny, and all of a sudden there's like touchpads and paddles and then somewhere along the lines, like, I don't know, there's a Nintendo Switch in here. It's the craziest thing looking at this and touching this. I feel like this thing is basically all major gaming platforms rolled into one, and it's the strangest thing. So these are the touchpads right over here, and you can use it for a mouse or whatever game key bindings that might work with it. I don't know about you. I personally don't use this stuff that often. I just don't find them that useful. I don't find that they work that well. I do use them, the touchpad on the PlayStation controllers, largely because I played Final Fantasy 14. And sometimes you just got a mouse over something and it works in that nature. But usually I use it as kind of like a key binding of some sort. I can't imagine the average user is going to find excellent use for this. But I can see some hardcore people that really like their customizations are going to absolutely love this feature, especially if you can change the sensitivity for it. I don't know that. Someone smarter than me or someone out there right now is fully aware that you can or cannot. But if you can, I could really see this being awesome for a lot of people, especially if you end up like flashing and installing Windows or whatever, you Linux or whatever you decide to install in it. Other things that I can think of about this is maybe, I don't know, I could just see this for like applications where it'll come, like if you want to draw something. Again, it's probably not perfect. Unlike the bumper, or rather the paddles, I will not describe this as a better than nothing option. I think it's a great option. I just don't think most people are going to use it or even use it effectively. But I think where they really hit a home run here was putting two of them. Putting two of them is probably the smartest thing they did on this device. And they made a lot of smart decisions, honestly, looking at this device, holding this device. Actually, it's the second smartest decision. Honestly, the way it feels holding it's the smartest decision. But I think putting two will increase its relevance into the basic usage of certain gamers who are spending time with this. Now, finally, we have these two buttons over here. I really like that I'm seeing two speaker faces. Now, I don't know if it comes with two stereo speakers or not. I'm going to assume it does, but some devices, that little hole is for a microphone or a vent. I don't know. I don't know that much. We're not getting into the specifications. This is just first impressions. This is how it feels based on my knowledge and what have you. But we have a Steam button and we have a triple dot button. And I'm not really sure what that does, but I'm sure there's options in there. It's probably tied into the Steam interface is my guess. I guess this is like a home button almost. And this is maybe like an options button is my first guess, right? Like that's what usually the triple dots are for. Additional options on pretty much every platform ever, especially social media platforms. So that's my guess. Again, we already went over the back. We went over the front. We went over everything but the thumbsticks, which I really haven't spent much time for or with yet. As far as these these thumbsticks are concerned, they feel fine. They feel normal. I've played a lot of like different types of controllers where you're using this and you feel this and it feels fine. It honestly, I don't really have any complaints about it. If you're asking me, do I like them or do I hate them? I'm going to say I'm above neutral is my initial feeling. They don't suffer from like stickiness. And what I mean by that is, again, not that the sticks themselves feel sticky when you're moving them. It moves fine. It kind of glides really. They don't suffer from stickiness over here when you're using the actual thumbsticks. So my thumbs are not getting caught on them. I could say that maybe there's a chance that they're not sticky enough is a potentiality. I can see some people, maybe they might slip a little bit. I don't think I would have that problem, but maybe there's somebody out there that when using this, they'll kind of slip a little bit. I could see that. So I feel like it's the opposite situation with this one, but nowhere near as overbearing where I'll be like, that's a major detractor for me. Whereas like it bothers me how sticky how my thumb gets stuck on the D-pad. That bothers me a little bit, but this doesn't really bother me. And this honestly just feels like most controllers I've ever played. Ever. If I were to like compare it to, because again, we've talked about this is basically every platform in one. I would argue the PlayStation controller feels better for a number of reasons, but it moves kind of like the PlayStation controller. For those of you that prefer it, I feel like the movement's very similar. In terms of the Xbox controller, again, I would argue it's better. The experience is better. Now, I'm comparing a device with a screen and speakers and like a touchpad and let's be realistic. These are controllers designed for one purpose, and it's never completely fair to compare and say, oh, this is way better than the Steam. No, it's not. I want to make sure that nobody gets stuck on that. That's not the mentality you should have. These are devices that were literally made for one purpose alone. This is clearly a device with a lot in mind, and somehow they were able to put it together in a cohesive package where it makes sense. It feels, I was going to say good, but actually it feels great is what I'm going to say with it. And honestly, it feels like it works. We're not going to turn it on here. I'm sure a lot of you want me to turn it on, or whoever's going to watch this. But this isn't an unboxing video. This isn't a hands-on or anything. This is me showing it off, what it feels like to hold it, look at it, talk about it based on my 30 plus years of video game and tech knowledge, because believe it or not, I have quite a bit. And I'm sure there's many of you out there that are like me that know as much as I do or even more. This is nice. This is so nice. I didn't realize there was this thing over here. It's cool. I don't know what it is. It looks like a microfiber cloth. See, look. Little indentations to rest a Steam Deck. This is a really nice case. Overall, I would say unpackaging experience, it was okay. Like the box wasn't anything special. It was definitely one of those things that you were just trying to get to the like meaty center or like the gooey center where all the tasty stuff is at. The case is fantastic. The case is actually really good. This is a really good case. It's an all digital console, so it doesn't really matter if it has any additional storage, but they still managed to put additional storage. Obviously, you're going to put this here to protect your screen. It feels good. It looks good. They even went as far as like protecting the little like zippers. That's a detail that nobody thinks about. They're not messing with your feelings here. They actually went out of their way to make something that feels like you didn't waste your money on. You just spent money, and you're gonna do something with it. And then again, we have this little area here where you're gonna put your power adapter, or who knows what else. Maybe you're gonna have some USB adapters, all that, because it is a computer at the end of the day, and you might want to hook up a mouse or a keyboard or whatever, and you might want to, I don't know. There's just a lot of options here. In terms of how this feels, honestly, it's fantastic. I don't feel that it's fair to compare it to anything else, but we really just live in a place where we kind of have to, because that's what's on a lot of people's minds right now. Is like, how does this feel to this PlayStation 5 controller? How does it feel to the PlayStation 4 controller? What, one of the most popular controllers of all time? What does it feel to like an Elite controller or a traditional Xbox, etc., so on and so forth? It looks like a Switch. Is it basically a Switch? These are the questions that you guys probably have, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's, I don't know, it found its own place somewhere in between everything. And I think that's the most interesting part about this, is that as someone who literally plays on every platform possible, it almost feels like this is the every platform console. I don't know if that makes sense. I wish I could relate it into words for you, but it found some kind of homeostasis, some kind of balance. It lives in the gray. It's somewhere in the middle. It's not black. It's not white. It's not on. It's not off. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's a black device, and you turn it on, you turn it off. But I think you understand what I mean. Like in a world where everything is a spectrum, this found itself somewhere in the middle, and it's interesting. And I'm kind of excited to see its future, and especially knowing that there's an extreme chance that there's going to be iterations of this that are going to be coming out later on, and that's something to look forward to. And this is just the first one. Imagine that. This is the first one. And imagine the second one and the third one if they keep going. And I really hope they do, because honestly, I haven't even turned it on. This is a special device. I have a problem, because now I want to buy one even more than I already do or did before. I wanted to buy one. Now I made the mistake of holding it in my hands, and now I really, 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 really want one. I really, really want it. So if you're on the fence on whether to buy the Steam Deck or not, if you have the money for it and you think you're going to use it, just do it. Don't wait for the next one. Don't wait for a sale. Just do it. The sooner you get it, the sooner you can game. And really, time is of the essence. Time is our greatest resource. We do not get time back, but we do get our money. We do get other devices and other stuff, but you don't get your time back. And that time you can be spending playing on this amazing feeling and looking machine, the better. And imagine all the places where you can game now, right? All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it over here. Again, if you're on the fence about it and you're thinking between a Switch and a Steam Deck, I can't make that recommendation for you because I haven't spent literal hands-on time with it. You know, maybe you want the more affordable option. You want to go with the Switch and being accepting towards the less power, but you get those exclusives, but maybe those exclusives aren't for you. I don't know. There's just so many questions that I would have to answer. I would rather you ask me in the comments, and I will theory craft with you on what I think you should do rather, or what my recommendation for you would be. But I can't do that right now without literally playing and spending time playing this. But I can tell you, this is like every single relevant gaming hardware rolled into one. I don't know how they did it, but they found it. It's somewhere there in the middle. Everybody can get a use out of this, I think. Whether you're whatever platform you hail from, if you're one of those like fanboys or girls, excuse me, or whatever you identify as, there's a home for you here, and you might want to check it out. All right, guys, I'm heading out for real. Thank you so much. I stream on Twitch most nights of the week, usually at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm mainly a Dead by Daylight streamer on Twitch. I am posting every single day on TikTok. Go ahead and follow me there. I'm almost close to 1,000 followers. And when I do that, I'll start setting up for actual streams on TikTok as well. So feel free to check that out. I started streaming on YouTube. I'll be doing that at least once a week, for sure once a week. But I do upload every Mondays through Fridays, with some slight exceptions here and there depending on my busy schedule. And my YouTube side of things is just variety. I'm going to do a variety of things, but on Dead by Daylight, Twitch, Dead by Daylight, Twitch, with some other variety, very rarely. And then we got TikTok, a lot of Dead by Daylight posts, but again, variety as well. So if you want to watch me play Dead by Daylight, you want to hang out and talk with me and be live with me, hit me up on Twitch. If you just want to watch my videos, go check me out here on YouTube. I respond to every single comment everywhere. Talk to me. I'll talk right back. I promise. I'm going to head out. I appreciate you guys. Always remember to be good, be great, be grand. Man, you guys. Bye.